In today's video, we're going to go over how to get ankle eversion with dorsiflexion. So dorsiflexion is when we lift the foot up. In some cases, after certain neurologic injuries, when someone starts to relearn dorsiflexion, bringing the toes up towards the nose, the foot has a tendency to invert, meaning the big toe either lifts up or turns inward. Now, there's a reason why this happens, and so in this video, we're going to go over why some of you might be experiencing this as you're trying to relearn how to lift that foot up, and of course some exercises how to isolate and improve ankle eversion with dorsiflexion. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara. I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, and mindset in the context of neurologic injury, with the end goal of empowering you with as many tools as possible to take ownership of your rehab and your health, to live an overall more active, more mobile, pain-free, happier, healthier life. And all that said, this video is perfect for those of you who are in that stage of recovery where you're starting to notice that you're getting some return in the muscles that lift the foot up, but you're getting this frustrating foot turning in component to it. So you try and bring your toes up towards your nose, and your big toe comes up and your foot rolls. Now there's a couple of reasons why this happens. Some of you might be experiencing this because you have some abnormal synergy patterns or spasticity that's causing that. The muscles on the inside of the foot are typically more, can present with more spasticity, and so that's why your foot turns in. This video is not really for those of you, but there's others of you out there that you're really starting to feel like you're getting voluntary dorsiflexion, meaning you consciously tell your foot to lift up and it lifts up, but you get this annoying like foot turning in. The reason that happens is there's the big muscle that lifts our foot, and that's called the anterior tibialis, and that muscle kind of inserts on the inside of the foot. And so if that muscle is really active when you lift your foot, because of where it attaches, it's also going to pull the foot inward. Now, under normal circumstances, without any injury to your brain, we have some ankle everters that also dorsiflex the ankle, and those muscles are typically where the problem lies. They're just not as active. So what we're going to go through today is how do you isolate those everters, and then how do you isolate dorsiflexion with eversion. So by the end of this video, you will have all the exercises that you need so that when you go to step your foot forward, instead of it curling in like this, hopefully you'll be able to lift that foot leading a little bit more with your pinky toe. Now, before we dive into the exercises, as a free gift, you can get a PDF handout of all the exercises that we're going to go through in this video today, with pictures and instructions on how to perform each exercise. It's great to just use as a reference so that you don't always have to come back to this video in order to incorporate some of these exercises into your home exercise program. So to gain instant access to that PDF, click on the link in the description below. Now let's dive into the exercises. So step one, and this is for those of you that are in the very early stage, we just want to kind of start activating those muscles that evert the foot. And a good place to start is just some little foot turns where you're just turning the foot out. Now this isn't the exact action of those everters, but it is a good way just to kind of get them activated or get them to kind of wake up a little bit. So I recommend strapping your knees together, and you're just going to work on rotating that foot out to the side. Now, one thing you want to pay attention to, if you do that and your foot automatically curls up, then you might have some spasticity going on, and I would recommend watching more of the videos that I have on like ankle spasticity. So this is really for those of you who are starting to regain some ankle motion, so you should be able to voluntarily be able to lift your foot a little bit. Okay, so it's for those of you that are starting to get some active ankle dorsiflexion, but when you do, your foot turns in. So definitely you don't want your foot turning in when you rotate it out, or you don't want the big toe coming up. So you almost want to think about like kind of pressing that arch down as you rotate the foot out. So arch presses down as the toes rotate out to the side. Now for this exercise, I have a little wobble board underneath my ankle that has these little dowel rods underneath it. That you could probably make something like this. I will put a link for this in the description below. It is a little bit expensive, so you can definitely make something. You just want like a platform with some kind of a dowel down the middle. And then now you're what you're trying to do is kind of push that arch down. Now I do recommend that you start doing this sitting down. I know I've shown this video or this exercise in standing, but if you really want to like engage those everters, you want to be in a comfortable position in the early stages. You're just going to set yourself up for success with this activity. So again, start sitting and you want to just try and lift the outside of that foot and bring that arch down. Now what you want to make sure you're not doing is just moving your knees side to side. So you really want to start to feel like you're having to use those muscles on the outside of your foot to bring that up out to the side. All right, now what we're going to try and do is start the process of working some ankle dorsiflexion without letting the foot invert. So we're going to kind of block the foot in eversion and work that dorsiflexion or that foot lifting up. And the way we do that is just scooting forward and backward in a chair. So have that foot a little bit out. The wedge is there to kind of evert the ankle, so not letting that big toe lead, but kind of letting that pinky toe lead. And then you're going to try and scoot your body weight forward and scoot your body weight back. All right, so you're going to scoot your body weight forward and scoot your body weight back. So I'm also going to show you this from the side so that you can see your dorsiflexing. So forward and back, but with that wedge there, it's kind of blocking that foot in eversion. If your foot has a tendency to still roll to the outside, try and focus on keeping your weight more towards the inside of your foot. So more towards the arch. You want to almost keep your knee over that arch as you scoot forward and scoot back. Scoot forward and scoot back. Again, just getting the motion of ankle dorsiflexion with eversion. So again, for this exercise, we're working ankle dorsiflexion, blocking that foot in eversion, or leading with that pinky toe, but kind of blocking it in that position so your brain can relearn how to dorsiflex and evert at the same time. So I have the normal wobble board. I'll put a link for that in the description below. And then that same blackboard. These dowels are movable on the bottom, so I just move them to the outside so it creates a little bit of a lateral wedge. And then again, we're just working dorsiflexion, really focusing on trying to lift the toes. So with your foot on a wobble board, I mean, there are ways to kind of like cheat or not get the most out of the exercise by kind of just pushing your heel back onto the back of the wobble board. Two ways that you can correct for that is either to move your foot a little bit forward, or actually probably doing both of these things. Move that foot a little bit forward so it's a little bit past the fulcrum towards the end of the wobble board, so past the middle point just a little bit, and actively, like consciously think about lifting the toes up versus pushing the heel down. So hopefully that makes sense. I think you have to try it to kind of understand the difference, but once you put your foot on a wobble board, I think you'll understand a little bit of the difference between those two. And then again, dorsiflexion with eversion. All right, now we're going to move on to kind of putting it all together. So we're going to work on dorsiflexion with eversion. So you can see my foot's a little bit pointed. You're going to dorsiflex and try and lead with the pinky toe. Now, it's best to start with the knees bent. That's just going to kind of set you up for success. It puts the muscles on the back of the leg on a little bit more slack, and it does make it a little bit easier. So I definitely recommend starting with the knee bent. And again, that foot's just kind of dangling, pointing a little bit, and then you're just going to try and bring it up and out to the side against gravity. Once you get really good at that, you're going to go ahead and add an ankle weight. I recommend adding an ankle weight, especially for those of you that you feel like your foot turns in more when you get in like a very overstimulating environment. This just adds an additional challenge that's not required for normal walking, so you're kind of like challenging yourself a little bit beyond, so that hopefully it makes actual walking easier, so that when you get stressed or overstimulated, you don't lose that normal movement pattern, or you don't lose that, your foot doesn't resort back to that inversion. So just a suggestion, if you absolutely can't lift your foot with a weight on the end of it, then obviously don't do this exercise, because trying an exercise and not being successful at it probably isn't hugely beneficial. So again, you just want to lift that foot and try and pull with that pinky toe. So lead with that pinky toe. Now, for those of you who absolutely cannot evert your foot when you try and dorsiflex it, like it always wants to go in, there is a tool, and I've shown it before, to kind of do like an active assisted method with an A-strap. Now, the most important thing about an A-strap when you're trying to use it to assist with eversion is how you put that A-strap on. So if you don't have two hands, maybe you can get some help from someone, but what you want to do is you want to wrap from the outside of the foot to the inside. So coming from the outside of the foot and wrap it around the toes, and then dorsiflex your ankle, and you can see that A-strap is pulling that foot into eversion, and wrap it a couple of times above your calf, then go back down, and then the place you want to pull is really when you're pulling that band back up, again, to get that kind of active assisted eversion. And then usually what helps to kind of prevent the straps from sliding is if you kind of tie it back on itself. All right, and so what that does is it does assist with dorsiflexion, but because of the way we have the wrap on there, it will also evert the foot just a little bit. And then you can go back to that same activity. And hopefully now you can see that that A-strap is maybe assisting a little bit to pull that foot up or out to the side, or even if it's just helping to pull the foot up by not asking the anterior tib to do too much, so you're not over challenging it because you're getting some assistance. Sometimes that gives the everters a chance to join the conversation. So you know the really loud kid in the classroom and the quieter kids never have a chance to talk? Well, the anterior tib is super loud, and sometimes by putting the band on there, the super loud kid doesn't feel like it needs to shout, right? And so then that gives the everters, the quieter kids, a chance to kind of join in on the conversation. So even if you don't get the angle exactly right where it's everting your foot, even the fact that it's helping a little bit with the dorsiflexion might allow those, the anterior tib, the muscle that lifts the foot and pulls it in, might kind of have that muscle not want to shout and allow the everters, again, to be a little bit louder. So again, active assisted ankle dorsiflexion. Now, so far we've gone over several kind of what I call active assisted options, meaning that even if you're in the very early stages and you don't have full strength, that we've gone over options to make it a little bit easier, so you don't necessarily need the amount of strength required to actually lift and move your foot. But in some cases, some of you are even in the earlier stages and have tried all these options and they're still not working. If that is you, one tool that I've talked about in other videos is electrical stimulation. If you want to get all of my thoughts on electrical stimulation, I'm going to link the eSTEM videos that I've done in the description below. It is a tool. It's not going to be a good option for everyone, and so that's why I recommend that you watch some of the videos in the description below and kind of get my opinions, and maybe that'll help you make a decision as to whether or not it's right for you. But if you and your therapist or you decide that it is right for you, I'm going to show you how to set it up in order to get really good activation or assistance with those ankle everters. So pad placement is really important when it comes to kind of stimulating the correct nerve that lifts the foot. So the black electrode, some of you guys who already have this, your cords will have little colors on them. The black one or the negative one, the one that has a little negative sign on it, you want to put one finger behind kind of that bone that sticks out, that little bony knob that sticks out on the outside of your knee, right below your knee. You want to go one finger behind it and one finger below it. And then if you made a J on your leg, the other electrode would go right at the end of the other end of the J. Then hopefully you have an eStim unit that does neuromuscular electrical stimulation. TENS units, you can get a response, but I recommend that you use the correct current and try and find a machine that has neuromuscular electrical stimulation. And then this unit's pretty simple. You just press one button to start turning up the intensity. And then you will see, I am not doing that. That is the machine, because you'll see it when it goes off. So now it's off. I have it set so it's on for 10 seconds, and I think it's off for 5 seconds. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So the eStim unit is doing that. And then you can just see it drop. Then it comes on again. And then it drops. So again, this is a good tool, but remember, for most of you that are watching this channel, not all of you, but most of you, the damage is in your brain. So it's actually like the motor control center that is impaired, that's making it not possible for you to lift your foot. And this is eStim is only stimulating the sensory system. And so it's not exactly the same mechanism neurologically that is required to lift your foot if you can't lift your foot because of damage to that motor system in your brain. So keep that in mind. It is stimulating your sensory system, and your brain's kind of just almost automatically responding to that sensory stimulus. So that's why I say you should probably really watch some of the other videos, but it's not the exact same mechanism, and using it all the time, there's a couple of downsides. You can become desensitized to it, but as well as it's not really kind of tapping into that rewiring system that involves that voluntary motor control system. So I think it's a great tool. I don't think it's something you should become dependent on. Again, link for all the other videos I've done on this are in the description below. But if you wanted a little bit of an additional assistance and you are in that stage where you can't lift your foot up yet, it's a great tool. And then, of course, if you've been around for a while, you know I always like to follow up any movement retraining with something functional. And crouch walking is by far my favorite exercise. So crouch walking is just kind of pretending like you're walking in a room with a low ceiling, keeping those knees a little bit bent and trying to dorsiflex and evert. By having the knees a little bit bent, it does kind of set you up for success because the ankle will dorsiflex a little bit easier with the knee bent. The other reason this is important is a lot of times what I notice is that people try and jam their knee back in order to lift their foot. When you that's not really lifting the foot. As you can see, that's just kind of moving the knee backwards. So kind of forcing your knees to stay bent will kind of break that kind of compensatory pattern. But again, knees bent, and you want to really focus on when you dorsiflex the ankle that you're leading with the pinky toe. All right, so I'm going to show that to you from the front as well. So overemphasize it. Overemphasize it, leading with the pinky toe. So it's not your knee coming out. Make sure you're not doing that, but it's literally just dorsiflexion, pinky toe leads the way. Dorsiflexion, pinky toe leads the way. Dorsiflexion, right? And I would do it going forwards and backwards. Backwards walking is always a little bit just of a different challenge, but sometimes it's harder to do some of your normal compensatory patterns when you're walking backwards because you didn't learn any compensations walking backwards because most of you don't spend a lot of time walking backwards. So always do this exercise forwards and backwards, trying to lift the foot and try and keep the pinky toe just a little bit higher than the arch of the foot. And then that is it for this video. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did and you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. If you want to get exercises throughout the week, head on over to Instagram where we post 1 to 2 videos every single week, or exercises every single week, different from the exercises that we share here on YouTube. If you want to go a little bit deeper and get your specific questions answered, you can join our Gold membership program. With your membership, you'll get access to nearly almost 400 exercises now that are exercises that I give to my patients that I see in person. So you'll have access to my complete home exercise library, as well as you will have access to our monthly lives where you get to submit questions in advance and I answer those questions live, and it's just always a great discussion. We always have time to kind of chat at the end of the live once I'm done answering all the questions. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great community. And again, you get access to those exercises. So if you want to learn more information about that, link to join our Gold membership program is in the description below. I enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day.